Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I got my new friend here, Clarence, and I just met Clarence at my favorite little coffee shop, and we started chatting, and he was kind enough to agree to sit down and tell us a little about himself. So, where are you from, Clarence?
Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas. That's
Yep.
a crazy city. I've driven through there before, you know, and so many things there. Texas is a real popular place now. I hear a lot of people are moving to Texas now, like Joe Rogan is like the biggest YouTuber, I think, in America now. And he just recently left California and moved, I think, to Austin.
Austin is exploding right now.
But I guess it's because, what, the taxes low there? What's the reason everybody's moving to Texas?
No, it's primarily because business is moving there.
Business,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, business is moving there. There's so much of an exodus from California to Austin, and a lot of people, I think, during the pandemic found out that they could work remotely, and these people can live where they want to live, and they can do so at a lot less money. So you're seeing a huge exodus from California, and Austin's just experiencing, huge growth because of it.
How about taxes? I guess taxes are lower in Texas than they are in California.
Yeah, taxes are lower.
Do you have sales tax there?
No.
No sales tax, okay.
No, and we don't have a state income tax. We just have a federal tax, and well, there's a sales tax, obviously, when you go to the grocery store and things like that.
There is, okay.
Yeah, but it's probably one of the coolest vibes that you're going to find in Texas, in Austin. I have two kids that are there now. They both love it. It's hilly, it has a nice terrain. The atmosphere, it draws people in.
And so you were in the car business for a long time, selling Lexus, right?
Yeah.
Which, excellent car, by the way. Like, they say some of the best cars in the world, as far as reliability and stuff, and
for sure,
great cars. And so now, like, what brings you to the Philippines? Like, what made you decide to even come here?
Well, I was on a track to retire at the normal time, age 67.
And how old are you now, if you don't mind saying?
61.
Okay.
Then the pandemic hit, and things changed with my job, and the job ended for me effectively at the beginning of the pandemic.
Well.
And it made me start thinking about what I wanted to do with my life. Made me really start thinking about what more there was to life than just showing up at a job every day. Even though I liked the job, I didn't like the micromanagement of the job, but I liked the job. But it still was a job, and it still was demanding, and it was still difficult to find time away from it. So when it ended, it made me stop and think, take stock of my life, take stock of where I was in life, and what I wanted to do with the rest of it.
Did you relate to yourself like, a lot of times your job becomes who you are, like, okay, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm a car salesman, and that's who you are. You identify that as a person, and then when that job or career is gone, some people are like lost. Okay, what am I? What am I now? I mean, who am I? And looking for your identity and finding direction in life after because you did it for 20 years. That's a long time.
I didn't really suffer that anomaly. I identify myself as a salesperson more so than as a car salesperson, and the only thing that I miss about it is the camaraderie of my fellow employees.
Yeah.
Some of them, not all of them, but I do miss that, and that's about all I miss. The rest of it, showing up for these sales meetings at the weirdest early morning hours they can come up with, and the grind, the constant grind at the end of the month for
a lot of hours too. Usually,
a lot of hours.
Cars, a lot of them usually working on weekends and holidays. And
Our holiday time was getting pared back more and more. It seemed like every couple of years. 4th of July falls on a bad day, whatever day that might be. Well, we'll give you a personal day, and we'd like everybody here on the 4th, though, because this Monday is real important to us, or whatever. Anyhow, it made me really stop and think about...
How about the commissions? Like, for me, the commissions kept going down and down and down, and you sell a car that's... I was selling cars for like $100,000, Land Rovers, and you make $200, $300 off a car like that, and you spend
Yeah.
all day long selling it, delivering it, and all the other things you've got to do, for $300.
Fortunately, it wasn't that way with Lexus, and Lexus is not big on rebates and things like that, so the market seemed a little more controlled, but I know exactly what you're talking about. And no, I didn't have that, and I was in the pre-owned side of the business by design, because
That's where
that
the money
can
is,
happen.
yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. And let me backtrack a little. You're absolutely right. If you're on the new car side, that can happen. And yes, I hardly saw the sense in selling six-figure automobiles and making some low hundreds
Yeah.
paycheck. That never made sense to me. So I always focus on the pre-owned side of the business. It's just where you want to be.
Well, one other thing is like you see how you identify as a salesman. That's one thing. It's such a skill to sell. 'Cause a lot of guys are afraid to take a sales job because they don't want to survive on commission. They want that guaranteed amount of money every month. They know exactly what they're going to make. Whereas a salesman, you eat what you kill, and a lot of guys are afraid of that. But if you're good at it, it's a great way to make money. And it's also, if you can sell cars, you can sell anything. And so I would think if you've got 20 years experience as a salesman, you could easily find a job selling anything you wanted to sell. So did you think about going out and getting another sales job, or what were your thoughts like, when you were sitting home doing nothing during the pandemic?
Well, the first thing I did is I had a meeting with my kids. I needed to let them know what was going on in my life. And I brought them in and told them, I used it as a teaching moment. I've always tried to teach my kids that you need to prepare for bad times in life as much as you can. And I wanted to let them know that even though I was out of work, things weren't all of a sudden just going to go topsy-turvy.
Now, how old were they?
Well, at this time, they're all in their 20s. 21.
Oh, so adults, yeah.
Yeah, they're older. So they were all older kids.
Yeah.
And in school or on their own. But I just wanted them to know that don't worry about me. I'm going to be fine. And part of the reason for that is that I plan for things like this. And so it's happened, and I'm going to deal with it. But I also told them that I'm not going to be looking for a job right away. I'm going to reevaluate where I'm at in life, and that's what I did. I started really thinking about it, and that's actually how I came to be here in the Philippines. Is I started looking for what more there is in life, and what is cost of living like in other parts of the world. And then I found you guys. I found you, your channel. I found Paul Old Dog's channel. I started watching, and I started thinking, these guys I identify with. I mean, you had car sales experience. Paul had worked in the car sales business.
Finance and sales too.
And sales, and I start watching, and I'm thinking, these guys are doing this. These guys jumped out of the rat race. Then I watched Calvin on Sunshine Shoulders, real down to earth. And I'm listening to you guys, and I'm not hearing a sales spiel or anything. I'm just hearing real life experiences.
Yeah, we just tell it as it is, the good, the bad, and the ugly, yeah.
And I thought, I need to think about this, because I am tired of, a lot of America. That's the only place I've been. There's got to be something more. So I start watching, and I start thinking, I start planning, and I thought, the Philippines will be the first place I visit. And frankly, Spain and Ecuador are on the radar as well. Spain primarily because when my job ended via the layoff, so too did it for one of my coworkers, and we were good friends, and he and his wife went to Spain, and they love it.
Yeah.
And he's really happy to be there, and he's the same age I am, and he's done with this. And I thought, that needs to really be my mantra. I don't want to give the next several years of my life over to the establishment if I don't have to, because none of us know how long we're going to be here.
That's a really good point. I was just going to interrupt you and say that, because like I had quadruple bypass surgery, and I've had health things, and so has my friend Paul, and you only got so much time left, and you think, okay, do I really want to spend the next 5 years at this job? And I don't hate the job, but I don't wake up every morning, can't wait to get there. Like I think there's a difference between a job and a career. And like for me, when I was working on cruise ships, for example, I couldn't wait to, when I was on vacation, I couldn't wait to get back to that ship. I just loved what I was doing. And same thing when I was in theater as a stage manager. I couldn't wait to go to work. I loved it, what I was doing. I would have done it for free with all my jobs I've had, so I was lucky in that respect. But if you're not happy in your job, or your job just doesn't give you that satisfaction, and you think year after year after year, so finally you're 62, 65, and you retire, and then what? You know, it's like, what are those years worth? And if you can afford to start your life now, and there's all kinds of ways you can still make money online. There's so many opportunities now. For I know guys are doing all kinds of different things. They're bringing a little extra money every month, but you know, life is too short. It really is. And being here, the guys I talk to that have been successful, and I've talked to a lot of people, it's not so much they're happy, they're just content. They don't have the stress that they had in America for whatever reason, or in Australia, wherever they're coming from. They don't feel the stress, they're just relaxed. They have lots of friends. Most of them are in a relationship. And life is just, you know, it's good.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that point, because when I was in the situation of having been laid off, it happened during vacation after COVID hit, and here I am sitting at home. I think I'm on vacation. I get a phone call. It's the HR manager at work, and I'm told that my job has ended. It's been impacted by COVID-19. And I laughed a little bit, and I said, "Oh, what, am I being promoted?" And she sounded shocked on the phone. "Oh, no, no, I'm sorry. No, you're no longer employed here." I said, "Oh, okay." At that very moment, literally at that very moment, it was like weight lifting off my shoulders. I really hadn't imagined it before, but as much as I liked the job, I hated the infrastructure of the job, the management, the micromanagement. They can't let really great salespeople, good salespeople, do their jobs, deal with their clients, and be happy. It's this constant drive.
Yeah.
Nothing's ever good enough, and it was that I knew I would never miss, and I literally felt this burden go away at that moment, at a moment where I think a lot of people would feel stressed for different reasons, like, oh my God, what am I going to do for next month's rent?
It was a blessing in disguise, really.
It was an absolute blessing. And that's the way I explained it to my kids. I said, this is a blessing. I said, I might not have had the cojones to do that myself. I was on a track to stay there until I was 67, and not even questioning it. And so looking back, it's more than 2 years since then, 2.5 years ago. Probably about the best thing that could have happened.
And then you got the benefits, the government benefits. You got the unemployment.
Well, that happened too.
The extra money too, because they told you they fired you because of COVID. So you were totally legit to take those benefits.
The company encouraged it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so that was there too. And then I start watching you guys' channels and thinking about options, and here I am in the Philippines, and I've been here for a month and a half. Been in Cebu, now in Dumaguete. It's a great place. I mean,
you're still on the fence though, right? You haven't really decided what you're going to do, which is okay.
Yeah.
You know, there's really no rush, and like I tell people, it's like, just because it worked out great for me here, it doesn't mean it'll work out great for you, and it doesn't mean that it would not work out. It just means that maybe it's not the right place, or maybe Spain is better for you. Maybe, you know, Ecuador is better for you. You never know. There's so many countries to go to, and you go where you're treated best, where you fit in, and where you resonate with that particular country.
This I can tell you. You can't make that judgment call watching videos. You can get an idea of it, but I can tell anybody that's watching this video right now that you have to put your feet on the ground over here.
I agree.
You've literally got to show up. You've got to be here. You can't do it in a week.
No.
You've got to carve out some serious time. You can't do it staying in IT Park in Cebu either. you got to get out. You got to experience more of what the Philippines has
I
to
agree.
offer.
I agree
And
100%.
only then can you begin to formulate an opinion. And thus far, I have to say the opinion is favorable. I just have this track in my mind that includes other places, and for that reason, I can't say with 100% certainty, where I'm at. But I can say that I by no means have X the Philippines off the list. Not
Now
by
you're
any
going.
means.
When are you going home? Soon?
Late November.
Late
Yeah,
November,
this
you're
month.
going home. And I guess once you're home, I think you can sit down and evaluate everything and, go over how you really feel about it and decide what you want to do. But
Yeah.
see, you seem to be financially secure, which is, a great thing where you don't have that pressure of you got to decide, to do this or do that. It's like when I came here, it was like to survive. And it was a one-way ticket. If I didn't work out when I get here, that was all over for me. So I had that pressure. But once I got here, things just started working out, getting better and better every day. And it's great that you've got the flexibility, and you can go home and think about it, decide what you really want to do. But, life is like I
Well,
said.
and that's just it, Mark. It's some flexibility that I have, but it's not like, we all, at least I think a lot of people, certainly I did, start planning a certain thing, a certain type of retirement I thought I would have. And then 10 years ago, I had a divorce that changed my perception of all of it, because that's a huge financial transaction
Yeah.
when you have a divorce. And it changed my outlook, and that may be part of why I felt like I was on this solid path to work until I was 67. But the way I see it now, I could have a bare minimal okay lifestyle in the United States and not have to return to work like that. Or maybe I could have a significantly better lifestyle somewhere else. That's kind of where it's at.
Yeah.
The United States is expensive to live there. Even in Texas, I mean, you still have lots of expenses. And that's part of why I'm broadening my horizons a little bit and looking at other places, because in America, we're so insular sometimes that we think this is the best, this is it.
Yeah.
There's nothing out there that's any better or even compares really that isn't a lot more expensive, but it just isn't necessarily the case.
It's not.
Yeah.
And, here in the Philippines, we don't have everything you've got in America. There's a lot of amenities and a lot of products and things that are hard to acquire here. You can't get them at all.
Right.
But you have to weigh that in your real cost of living. Like we were talking earlier off camera, medications are a little more expensive here than they are in America. But healthcare, you can go see a doctor for $10, a good doctor for $10. I see a cardiologist, she charges me $16. Medical tests are real cheap here. I've had chest x-rays and blood work done for $15, $20. And rent is the big thing where you save the money here. Like, I know a lot of guys have a really nice house, 2 or 3 bedrooms, beautiful location. They're paying $300 a month, $350 a month. On the high end, $500 a month. In America, it doesn't matter where you go to a small town, try and find a studio unfurnished apartment for under $1,000. It's really difficult.
Extremely. I have 2 kids in Austin, as I said, and that's another thing. This exodus of people from states like California to Austin has done nothing but raise the rents there. And both of my kids live in one in a 1-bedroom, one in a studio, but they're still at 4 figures a month.
Yeah.
I mean, you're thinking, really, for these small spaces, and you just, you really, anywhere you look in Houston, if you're going to live somewhere that isn't a crime-ridden area,
Yeah.
you're going to pay a minimum of $1,000, $1,200, $1,300 for a small apartment.
And then you got your internet and
Oh,
my
yeah.
mother, she's got landline, internet, and basic cable TV, and she's paying $270 a month for that. We're here in the Philippines, we got HBO, Showtime, cable TV, and we're paying $10 a month for that. Our internet's free. Like most of the apartments and houses you'll rent here, at least in the Dumaguete area, they throw in internet. You know, so we've got 3 internets at my house. I've got Globe and Smart and another one. So if one of those goes down, we can switch to the other one. Our water is free. We don't pay for water. That can be a big bill in America. And then a lot of electricity here, I'd say, is about the same as America, if not more. You know, because we only use the AC in our bedroom at night. The rest of the time, since we're on the ocean, we have our windows open, have fans going. And we're spending like anywhere from $60 to $80 a month electricity. I don't know what it would be like in America. Of course, gas is way more here, I think. We're paying 79 pesos per liter for gas, but most people are riding scooters anyway, so it doesn't matter. But
Well, I think that's probably on par with what fuel is in U.S. right now.
Really?
At least when I left, I think there are 4 liters in a gallon, right? Roughly.
Yeah, roughly. Yeah.
So it was in the $3 mid threes. Now that's Texas. We have wide disparities, obviously.
Yeah.
California, they're paying a lot more for
California
gas.
a lot more.
Yeah, but in Texas, anyhow, it's when I left, it was in the low $3 range.
Well, when I was in America, I mean, I was always struggling every month. You know, didn't have enough for things, and sometimes having to use credit cards to buy groceries and buy gas, things like that. And here it's just the opposite. Like I have money left over every month, ever since I've been here. Even when I was just starting out and I was tutoring English, at the end of the month I paid my rent. I had enough money to go out and have some fun every once in a while, and I had money left over. And most of the guys that I talked to have like, they're making say $1,200 to $1,500 a month Social Security, and they've got a little bit of savings, and they're doing great. You know, they're staying in a nice place. They go out to dinner with their girlfriend when they want to. They, you know, maybe they even take a couple trips to like Thailand or Malaysia every once in a while. And they've got, you know, they don't worry about money because, you know, on $1,500 to $2,000 a month, you can have a nice life here. You know, if you don't go crazy, you can have a nice life here, which, and you know, means a lot.
Oh, absolutely, and you can't do that in the States.
No, you can't do that in the States.
I mean, it just, I don't...
Or Australia or Germany, all the places people come from.
Yeah, I was having a conversation the other day and talking about the ownership of properties in the States, and talking with my sister too about taxes. Well, I mean, you can own a property outright, but you still have taxes, insurance, HOA fees in many cases. You have these ongoing expenses that, frankly, when I look at that, just the ongoing expenses of owning a piece of property, it can cover rent over here. Yeah, I mean, it can cover your expenses here. It's just crazy to think about. And then if you add a mortgage on top of that, well, I mean, you're just that much worse off in the U.S.
Well, if you're surviving on Social Security, and say you've got a house that you spent your whole life paying that house off, but you still got to pay property taxes, and you can't afford that, you can literally lose your home that you paid for. And
Absolutely.
even, you know, because you can't afford the taxes or the homeowners insurance or homeowners association fees that are tacked onto it, and you can't afford to live in a house that you paid for. It's your house, and the government can take it away from you. You know, and you don't find that here. You know, when you own something, you own something. You know. But,
yeah, absolutely true.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing your story and stuff, and
yeah, it's been great. Great. I'm glad I ran into you.
Yeah, me too. I'm hoping that you decide to make the Philippines your home and come back here and look me up when you get here. And no matter where you end up going, I think you'll be fine. 'Cause you seem like a guy that's got things. You think things through. You won't make any rash decisions, and you know it'll work out for you. You'll see.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Thanks for subscribing. We'll see you next time.